Hey, hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
Welcome to our 35th Q&A, the holiday edition 2023. It's already over for some of you, but for us it's New Year's Eve.
Yes.
Now we couldn't complete all the questions last time, so we want to continue on with Jabulo from Africa's question.
Hi, Jabulo.
It is said in the teaching that Moses and Elijah introduced evil elementals into the tree of life. I know this is different from the symbol of life. And they abused creative ether respectively. Well, yes and no. No, Elijah did not introduce any evil elementals to the symbol of life. Moses did that. But Elijah and Moses misused the creative ether and used it to kill people. And of course, there's consequence to that. So his question is, what therefore is the significance of Jesus seeing the two individuals, or was it their elementals, during his transfiguration on the mount as described in the Gospels? This is reported in the book of Matthew, but Matthew wasn't there. Jesus took Peter and his cousin Johannes, St. John, and Johannes' brother, Jacob. And so they go up to the mountain and he shows them great light, and in that light were two figures. And then he really turned on the power, and his face, they say, became like the sun, and his clothes were like a radiant, glowing cloud of light. It was so bright that the disciples had to put their heads down on the ground. They couldn't look at the light directly. Next thing they know, Jesus touches on the shoulder and says, "Stand up." And they stand up, and they don't see Elijah and Moses anymore. And Peter's just astounded because he can't conceive of what's happening. He says, "Was that really Elijah's and Moses? They're dead." And Christ said, "Their bodies are dead, but they live. Every spirit being lives forever," right? So then I really like this part. He says, "God is not the God of the dead. God is the God of the living." So I think a couple of things about the significance. You know, Moses was the leader of the Jewish thing who foretold about the coming Messiah. Of course, Christianity is not the same as Judaism. Judaism had an angry God, a revengeful God, and Christianity has a loving, merciful God. It's not the same. But Elijah, as Christ said himself, came again as John the Baptist. Now, John the Baptist, Mother Mary, as it says in the Gospel, and were born immaculate. And so was St. John, Johannes. It doesn't mention that in the Gospel. In the Catholic Gospel, it says Mother Mary was born immaculate. Now, these three archangels, they are archangels, and they always come with Christ. Always come with Christ. They're part of the mission. And of course, the mission doesn't just play out on Earth. It plays out on every planet where human life has come and goes through these levels of, maybe you can call it evolution or unfoldment is a better word, really. So I think also the significance too is when Christ says, he tells them, that their bodies died, but they didn't die. And that was his message too. And now many people said that. Many people before that had said that. Many people have even resurrected other people from the dead. But Christ was the only one to resurrect himself. And the point of that, again, is to show mankind we are not just a body. We're much, much more.
Yeah, very, very good. Very nice. Yes, thank you. Yes. Elijah abused the life force as fire. And he reincarnated as the John the Baptist, who gave the baptism of water. And Moses abused the life force and put the evil elemental in the tree of life, but reincarnated as Akhenaton, and they gave us our symbol of life. So everything is the scenario in the divine plan. So it seems like it's not make sense. It doesn't make sense, but everything makes sense under the divine plan, and each present-day personality performed the role of the scenario under the divine plan. So that's why John the Baptist said, I indeed baptize you with water, but one mightier than I is coming, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to lose. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire, which means baptism of fire. Even though John the Baptist humbly said so, he baptized Christ with water. Well, Christ really, we feel like does Christ need it? But under the divine plan, Christ needed to be baptized. Christ needed to be crucified under the divine plan, as Daniel said, to teach us human beings are not just body. We are the spirit soul in the bodies. So he just came and teach us. Everything is teaching. All the event of the period when Christ lived and the stories are symbolically presented as the teaching of the universes. So same thing. It's Moses. I want to explain more and more about Moses. Maybe do we have time? Can I explain a little bit about Moses?
Sure, why not? We'll probably run out of time.
Yeah, likewise, in the Essene synagogue, the temple, there was the Holy of Holy, and the most on the altar of the Holy of Holy in the Essene temple, there used to be Moses' 10 Commandments in the middle, which is made of two marble. Yes, it's made of tablet, but made of marble, right in the middle. But one day, Christ came and placed it aside, and he placed the marble shaped like a right triangle, and saying this word on the marble, saying this word: I am the Lord God, your God, in your being. Love the Lord, your God, in your being self, and love your God and every human being as yourself. So, 10 Commandments. Yeah, at that time, he also says this way too: I didn't come to violate the law, but I came to complete it. And this is completed. Christ said this way, saying this word, he placed Moses' 10 Commandments aside and placed the marble, saying this word, which I now recited, right in the middle. this is also very symbolic. So 2 tablets of the 10 commandments represents our left brain and right brain, which means the duality, the kind of intellectual, the knowledge, and the law. Intellectual approach of human beings. But he placed it aside, saying it's not saying Christ is saying he's not violating that, but he came down on earth to complete it, representing the right triangle shape, marble, which has a right triangle, saying the word of love. Love God and ourselves, and love God and all other human beings. So it symbolically said Christ came down on earth as a human being to teach us, to launch the light of love, ray of love, because human beings are already developed to that stage at that time. That's why he came down on earth to launch the light. So if we meditate on what it says in the Bible or on our teaching, we will know the deeper meaning behind all the event. Thank you.
Another difference you notice in the 10 Commandments and Christ, it's not even really a commandment. The 10 Commandments were prohibitions. Don't do this, you shall not do that. But Christ just gave this gentle persuasion. It's a commandment, but it's really is an urging, a persuasion for us to love God and to love God in every other human being and in ourselves. It's so simple. It can't be more simple than that.
Yeah,
really.
He said our teaching is not a prohibition, our teaching is a persuasion.
The next question from Jabulo was, when creating positive mind emotion elementals, the advice is often given to pray or visualize, then forget about it, so that the elemental can do its work and we don't keep drawing it back. That's true. How does this advice square off with Luke, where his advice seems to be for us to actively persist in our request? Now there's a big difference between persisting actively in our request than constantly thinking about the elemental. A self-realized person, when they create an elemental, they don't need to revitalize it anymore. But a non-self-realized person, it helps to revitalize it, but in a regular rhythmic pattern, not constantly just thinking about it. When you're thinking about it all the time after you make the prayer or visualization, you just keep bringing it back and it stops the elemental from working. So rather than that, in our system, what we recommend is do it every day and then forget about it till the next day. Then do it again for 15 days if you really want to make it strong. So that's the difference between the two. Okay.
Okay. I thought you were going to talk more.
I answered.
Okay. Yes. What you say, Luke chapter 11, verse 1 to 6, and Luke chapter 18, verse 1 to 8. I think it's two of them. They are set in the parable of Christ, the book of the parable of Christ, and in that book, what is called the friend indeed, and the other one is called the unjust judge and the persistent widow. So please check them out in the Christ parable of Christ. Yes, this is exactly what Christ said, ask and it shall be given to you. We create elementals, consciously or unconsciously, subconsciously, every moment we are creating elementals. And then elementals are sooner or later, eventually, they all will be manifested unless we de-energize them. So as the researchers of truth, we know, we study about the nature of the elementals. So what we do in our exercise is by knowing the nature of elementals, by knowing how they work, we purposely, consciously try to forget about it, which means that we focus on different things. So which doesn't mean we forget it completely. So for example, in our healing work, we create a healing elemental and send it to them. And we just switch our focus to other things, try to forget about it, because we need to give that elemental to work. We have to give all elementals enough time to work. So to make it possible, we need to focus on other things. Otherwise, it will come back or it stick to our order of the etheric double. So we have to let it go. So we purposely focus on other things to make it happen. Because depends on how we work on the elemental. As I said, all elemental will be manifested unless we de-energize it. But depends on how we work on it. We don't know how soon or how much it will be manifested. So the process to forget about it is just for them to make it happen, to give them enough time to happen. So yeah, but it doesn't mean we forget about the healing itself. We consistently continue our work, on the same person. But each time we try to forget about what we create. But the healing itself for that person will be continued. We will never give up. Patiently, consistently, with faith, we will continue our work. So it seems to be, conflicted between what it says in the Bible and our teaching. It seems like that, but it's not actually. Knowing the functions of elemental, we consciously do this method. And I have one interesting example. I know a couple who loved each other so deeply for a long, long time, so genuinely. And then the lady had been longing for marrying with the guy, long time. But I don't know the detail, but the guy didn't want to marry. And then, but she was, she had a heart to marry with him one day. And then, finally, recently they got married. And then the lady told me, oh, one day I tried to forget about to marry with him. Then, surprisingly, I was asked to marry by him after being for a while. So we loved each other, and I really understand, because we studied the teaching, and we really saw the, proof of how elementals work. they are happily living, and her dream came true by forgetting about it, by defocusing on it. But she never ever gave up loving him, or her love is deepened, but she just defocused on marrying with him. Then it manifested. So it's something like that.
I'll add one other piece of advice Dascalos gave about energizing your elemental and then completely not thinking about it till the next day when you do it. It becomes much more powerful. Any prayer, any healing elemental you're sending, anything like this works this way. It's the law of repetition, of course, by repeating it, but in a regular fashion, just not constantly thinking about it. But when you do it every day, do it in the same time. Do it in the same location. Sit in the same chair. Don't change anything. It just empowers that repetition much, much stronger that way. Now, the next question is from Jonas.
Jonas?
Christian mystics often agree with each other, and there really is no way to reconcile the teachings. Most Christian preachers believe let me just say something to that. Yeah, mystics, you'll never see the same, and no matter what. Why is that, do you think? Is it one of them's wrong and the other one is right? Is that right? No. It's the same principle as the voyage of discovery. When people came to America, the ships came to America, and each one of those ships, somebody on that ship drew a map of what they saw in America. They take them back to England, none of them matched. They saw the same reality, but their perception of that reality was based on what caught their interest. So that's why those maps never matched. In a similar way in spirituality. And people explore different aspects of the thing. And they bring back, and they tell you different aspects of it. The other thing, especially when you talk about past, readings, we'll say, there is no, when people contact the Akashic Record, there is no calendar flipping over and over telling you what date you're seeing. You have to interpret that based on what you understand. And not everybody understands these things. So the maps and those kind of things are very different, but they're all seeing the same reality. That's the interesting point. Now he says, most Christians preach that we need to believe in certain theology to be saved. Gurus in India say you need a guru to be saved. Dascalos adamantly said, you do not need a guru, you do not need a master. And in some ways, the theology can help, but it can hurt you too by getting caught in it. But think of some people, there have been many people who have reached self-realization who never had any of these teachings. How did they do it? By purity and goodness, love. They tell me that it's my duty to evangelize others. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that's true. It's not true. He says, Jonah says, I don't evangelize others. I'm not sure one needs to believe in a certain theology to be saved. I love the teachings of Dascalos, but I'm not sure he's right for everyone. Of course, that's why we have all these different masters coming, speaking to their own people in different ways, and it's what you resonate with. If you start to resonate with it, follow it, because that's a sign. I believe there are multiple ways to interpret Jesus' teaching. What are your thoughts? Yes, there are multiple ways. You can look at it past, future, up, and down. So when you look at a scripture, like the parable of the prodigal son, a man had two sons and one went away, right? Okay, you say, oh, well, that's a historical thing. Some guy had two sons, one of them took his inheritance and went away. That's one way to look at it, one way to interpret it. Another way to interpret it is spiritually, or which is up. It's like, well, what this really is, and this is like it's return of the prodigal son. It's the whole process of humanization. Allegorically, you can see the spiritual meaning in it. Like, you notice the father the son blew all the money, right? He did not do wisely with it. The father doesn't rebuke him. He takes him back in. And that's an allegory to how the Heavenly Father will do to us. We've wasted the super substance of mind terribly on petty things and maybe even destructive things. But He doesn't care about that. He cares about the return. When you wake up and say, oh, I shouldn't do that, I should return back. And of course, the downward way is sort of like a moral way, like, oh man, that son took his father's money, that wasn't good. You know, it's like it's teaching you this story about that. But it's also teaching you many other things. So you have to look at these in different ways. And when the spirit soul of Dasclos was Origen in 200 AD, he was the greatest church father, and he spoke about these things. And he said there are 3 levels of interpretation. The first one, it's like man. Man has a body, a soul, and a spirit. 3. And he said you can interpret this thing the same way, and he spit scriptures the same way. The body just means interpreting it literally. There was a father, had a son, blah, blah, blah. The soul is like ethically. When you look at that teaching, it's like, what's the ethics in that? What did he do that he shouldn't have done? What did he do that he should have done? And then what he should have done, what he ends up doing, of course he shouldn't have just squandered it like that, but what he ends up doing that he should have done was to sit down and reason. And he reasons that the Father's house has abundance. And here he's starving, so he decides to return back to the Father. So that's an example of that. And then allegorically, it's like of the Spirit. You know, it's like, what's the allegory here? It's the return of every human being back to his source. Now, the other part of it is they're not all mutually exclusive. All of them are going on at the same time, so you can interpret it in many, many different ways that way. But those are the 3 basic ones.
Thank you. Yes, as we have a different color of the skins, as we have different races, the way of thinking and feeling, you know, the nature of God, divine nature, one of the divine nature is the divine multiplicity. So our teaching is one teaching, one path to reach to the truth. But in the world, we have so many different teachings. And that's our choice, which path we choose. But all the masters, real ones, knows the structure of the truth and how it is. So they don't care which path we choose, but they care how sincerely we pick and move on the path we select. And they care how much love and light we express through the teaching to the world and to the people in the world and to ourselves. So they don't care which path we select. They all love. It's love. They love all. So they watch over us in a very warm, loving heart. And then teaching, studying the teaching, seeking the truth is not just accumulating or studying the theoretical study of the universal truth. It's not like that. The seeking the truth is researching the truth is, of course, have to study about what is the real teaching, but also practice the teaching and experience through the teaching. So it's something like this. It's I have to evangelism. The real evangelism is not like we have to prepare the teaching to someone. It's not like that. If we, for example, when you try some good food and it was very good and nutritious, and you felt energy by it. When you experience it, then through your natural heart, don't you want to, introduce, oh, I ate this, and it was so good, and would you like to try it? Then naturally we feel that way, right? It's exactly the same way like that. If you really experience it through the teaching, and you will feel naturally want to share how beautiful your experience was, and what you learned, and what you gained from it. So for us, real evangelism is like this. So nobody will force you to do it. It comes naturally from your heart.
There's a big difference between evangelism and proselytizing. Telling people they don't want to listen, but you're going to keep telling them that's not a good thing. But if somebody's interested, yes, share what you experienced. Now, Gustavo's asking a question here.
Hello, Gustavo.
I had a teacher once who said by practicing meditation and right thinking, even when you get unhealthy or sick during the process, that was a karmic cleansing. That otherwise you were not persevering on the path to the light, and that karma would have come much stronger later, the whip of karma. Would you agree? Yes, definitely. Definitely. Nothing happens, nothing can happen on earth that isn't allowed by God for some reason, and that reason is the law of cause and effect. And it's so we don't realize it for a long time that we're causing all this. Everything that's happening to us is for our benefit. Even the sickness and the purification. How many people felt sick, and when it's over, how do you feel? Oh, you feel much better. You feel strong. You feel good again, right? And it's the same thing when you come over your illusions, which are a different psychonoetic sickness. When you come over your illusion, you come out of your illusion, you go, wow, I didn't realize I was mistaken, You feel much stronger about it. So it's like that to me, and whatever comes, we should take it, but we should take it with grace and perseverance. Like, it doesn't matter. People die, it's like the thing in the Bible, 1,000 may fall at your left side, 10,000 at your right side, but it will not come near you. We have to keep persevering no matter what happens to us in life. And a lot's happening to people in life right now. All over the world, there's a huge cleansing. The world has been sick, and it's going through its own cleansing right now. And it'll come out of it. Maybe it's going to be like a near-death experience for America, but people will come out of it, and there'll be something greater. A new heaven, a new earth is coming.
Beautiful. Yes, our present-day personality is something like a transmitter in English. The vibration which we are emitting will come back to us. So whatever we emit will come back to receive. So, but we are always having a new chance. We always have the new chance to express ourselves. And by the law of oblivion, we call it mercy of God, we are given to forget about the past and move on to the future. Work on what we are given now. So we always have a new chance to express, to emit the new vibration. Then by expressing and emitting the new uplifted vibration, we will be able to rewrite the future, what we will be given, which we call karma. So in a sense, we can change the scenario which is going to happen ahead of us by changing the vibration of now. We always have chance to change our vibration, and can change what it's called karma ahead of us. But I have one advice. But when we get sick, whenever we get sick or kind of misfortunes which we feel, please don't take everything like, oh, this is because of the karma, so we have to receive it. As Daniel said, we have to be very strong to overcome it. Please receive it, whatever we are given, strongly and patiently with faith. This attitude is so important, but don't think of yourself like, oh, this is because of the karma, that's why it's happening. Please don't receive it masochistically, oh, we have to receive everything. No, please stand strong and receive whatever we come. Visualizing that, oh, now I'm paying off all kind of stains, cleansing the stains, and then much better things, better future will come. Or I'm expressing more and more nature of life, God. So visualize positive image in yourself. Gustavo, what you say in here in your question is exactly matching with our seventh promise, fourth of our promise, which is, I promise to myself to endure patiently without complaining all forms of trials and tribulations which the most wise divine law may bestow upon me. So let's live on the fourth promise of our seven promises. Let's be on the teaching. Amen.
Now, Eric has a question here, and then Jonas just resubmitted his other question, so we won't answer that one. And then Mika has a very similar question. We've already answered that one.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to Eric and Mika, but they're both really talking about the same thing. And there's a lot to answer with this. In fact, we created a 5-day seminar on all this, so we're just going to have to say something lightly about it, because it's too much.
About this.
We'll try to sum up and instead explain.
Yes.
Okay, Eric is saying, hello, I was hoping you could talk about the 3 crucifixions on the symbol of life. Are there specific aspects of egoism that are associated with these 3 centers of crucifixion? If so, are you able to describe which? In meditation, when I was trying to enter into deeper states of observation, silence from my elementals, it occurred to me, is the desire to express yourself, even the slightest, egoistic in nature? Does a complete dissolution of egotism result in a complete silence, but with higher states of self-awareness? Can you describe the aspects of egoism which are dissolved in the 2 higher centers of the egoistic crucifixion?
Maybe can we go one by one?
He touches here, so yeah, I'll say that one and we can answer that one.
Yeah.
If you notice on the symbol of life behind us, there are 3 horizontal lines. 1, I can't do my thumb with the camera, 2 and 3. These are the 3 crucifixions. Now the first crucifixion is painful. It's a complete, well, I can't say it that way. It's the destruction of your egoism. It's the breaking down of your egoism. And it's as painful as you are to the degree of your attachment to your egotism, which in most people is quite a lot. So when this starts to break down and your egotism starts to be crucified, and it goes, it goes on for a while. And it's, you'll have it all the time. Somebody will say something, you'll hurt your feelings, and make you, they don't think of you as the high way you think of you. So it's not you, it's your egotism is feeling wounded and offended or hurt from all this. So that's the first crucifixion. It occurs after the first baptism. The first baptism is the baptism of water, which is a repentance for sin, right? Do you notice that the church, they want to baptize little babies? But they tell you it's for the repentance of sin, right? Well, how could a little baby sin? I mean, he just got here. How could he have so much sin he needs to have it repented? So it's almost like they know about reincarnation, but they don't really, well, it's been taken out of the Bible in 500 AD, 535 AD. But that's the remission of sin. And it's like Aki said a minute ago, John the Baptist, who did the baptism of water, said, the ones coming after me will give you baptism of fire and spirit. Now these are two different things. So baptism of water, be done in a couple minutes in a church. Doesn't take much time. Baptism of fire takes centuries, many, many incarnations. And the baptism of spirit is even higher. And only Christ gives the baptism of fire and spirit. So the completion of in the baptism of fire, it's in center number 6, the heart center. And it completes when at the second crucifixion, which is the second line. Yeah, I can't point to it yet. See, it's hard to do that. So those are a couple things about it. And the parts about the egotism, the first one I said is painful because you're destroying your egotism, which you have misidentified yourself to be all your lifetimes, up to this point maybe. Maybe you haven't heard this before. You are not that egoism you believe yourself to be. So you attach to that, it hurts. Now the next crucifixion has to do with enlightenment. The baptism of fire is about enlightenment. The baptism of water is about removal of sins. So it's fire and light, and like I said, it goes on for centuries. And it's not painful, it's pleasing, because what you're doing in that one is you're dedicating, you stop caring about your life, you stop caring about what's best for you, and you start to devote your life, the dedication to others, to really, really serving others. And then the top one, the baptism of spirit, is back when we return back to God in theosis. That's the absolute return of the prodigal son. Okay?
Okay. My answer is hi. First of all, hi Eric. My answer is I'm not sure I can. This is the first cross, second cross, and the third cross when we count it from the bottom. As he says, as Daniel says, we need a 3 to 5 day seminar to talk about all, but just simply. Now, what I can say is, first cross, as connecting from center 7 to center 8, it corresponds to the bottom of the sternum, the diaphragm. When we reach this line, we will have the self-realization, present-day personality's self-realization, which is the self-realization as the permanent personality. And then the baptism of fire starts, real one will start. But also in teaching says baptism of fire starts in the center number 6 because it's going to be the very deeper content that something happened when we reach this cross. Then the baptism of fire happens when we reach the first cross. This line, this line is what we call self-realization in general. And then when we reach, back to your question, Eric, when we reach that level, we cleanse all kind of egoism, what you call in your question, egotism. All egotism should be cleansed because we will have the self-realization. And then the second cross here, as between the center number 4 and 5, corresponds to our thyroid. And then when we reach that level, we will have the fully self-realization of our soul self-realization. And then at the same time, baptism of spirit will happen. And some part it said it already happened from center number 6. But when we reach this second cross, baptism of spirit happens. And then when we reach this cross, it's between center number 2 and 3, 2 and 3, okay? And then it corresponds over the cerebellum, on the cerebellum, in the middle of brain, okay? When we reach that cross, we will have theotes, spirit self-realization. And our ultimate goal and ultimate aim is to attain spirit self-realization. Self-realization as spirit. So briefly, it has 3 golden crosses, has those meanings. But maybe some people already noticed it. That cross is hiding on the symbol of life. It's invisible, hiding behind. And if you want to try the exercise of the 3 golden crosses, you can have it you can find it in the store series. And also, I remember it's in the Gates to the Light book. You can practice it. So when you practice it in the book, you will find how to make the 3 golden crosses in your body, 3-dimensionally. And the next question.
Mika from England.
Eric has another question about
Can you describe the aspects of egoism dissolved in the higher 2 states?
Before that, maybe in the meditation, when trying to enter into the higher state.
Oh yeah, right, okay. Yeah, so here in the entering into deeper states, he comes to the idea that the desire to express yourself, even the slightest, egoistic in nature. Does a complete dissolution of egotism result in a complete silence, but with higher states of self-awareness? Well, yeah, the more you dissolve your egotism, the more you have higher states of self-awareness, of course. But it's not like we're never going to have a desire. And we have to understand egoism has really 2 poles. It has a positive pole, which is state connected to the inner self. And the negative pole rebels, it runs away. It doesn't want to cooperate. It wants to go farther away. But the one that stays connected to the inner self is the one that brought you here today. Oh, I want to listen to this. I want to study Daskulos' teachings. You know, that's a positive thing. It's drawing you upward. The other one is trying to draw you downward into whatever misadventure it wants to lead you into. It wants to catch you, because if you get caught by it in this, you don't go up. And so it keeps alive. But what happens is the more you turn from that thing that's like, you know, overdoing anything, drugs, anything, overdoing and doing wrong things. People know what wrong things are. It leads you away from the self. But the other one is trying to lead you into the self. And the more that happens, the more you go with that one, something really amazing happens. This negative one that's trying to pull you down, it stops rebelling. Slowly, 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 maybe over many, many incarnations. It stops rebelling, and it starts to be drawn up, closer and closer. And when they merge, that's self-realization. Because now, the present personality, the mortal, has been resurrected as the immortal. The perishable has become imperishable. That's what that's about. But we're never going to stop having desires. It's not possible. Until we maybe leave this, leave to this cross here, this second cross, and we're in the world of beingness, and everything is one there, and you can't even describe that. So there's no desire because there's nothing outside of you to desire. Everything is inside you at that level. And there's not much that can be said about that because we are experiencing this world of separation where everything we think we want is outside of us. But the truth is, even in this world, what we're really looking for is inside of us. And you know, this is one good thing about, it's revealed about desires, you know. It's like, there's no end to desire while you're incarnated. And that means in the three worlds of existence. There's no end to desire. It just keeps going and going and going. What we want to do is get rid of those harmful desires, those unhealthy desires. But even a person, and subconsciously people want to do this. A lot of people enter spirituality or self-improvement things because they subconsciously want to know. They want to improve, right? But even the most unconscious person who's seeking pleasure and satisfaction in sex, money, power, that really is showing you that we have this internal desire to improve. Because, you know, you always want something more, better, 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 better. You don't want something lesser, lesser. You want something more of whatever it is you like, even if it's wrong for you. That's showing that there's this innate drive in the human being to reach to perfection. It doesn't look like that because it looks like they're going down, and they are in terms of vibration. But ultimately, it shows you that process. But it's just a misapplication of it. You know, they're looking to the outer world for, you know, money, sex, and power, basically. That's what people are looking for. So, that's my answer. What's yours?
Yes. Divine nature, divine God is self-sufficient, right? But at the same time, God has will pleasure, express will pleasure to manifest himself or itself in itself. You know? So according to this, all human beings has the, you know, I don't want to call it the desire, the wish to express ourselves. It's natural, our nature want to express something, wish to express something. It's natural nature, divine nature. So back to your question, it depends on which self you want to express, no? Because what we call egoism is the accumulation of the negative elementals in us, which dominate and control our present-day personality. This is what is called, what we call egotism. So, you know, not all our thoughts and the emotions are egotism. Not all of them, but you know, it's divine. It's mundane. It's not divine because it's emotion and thought. So we can't call it. We call it. We can't call all of our emotions and thoughts egotism. But it depends on which self you want to express. It can be your pure expression. We can't call it egotism. This is my answer. And yeah, your third question, does a complete dissolution of egotism result in total and complete silence, but with higher states of self-awareness? Yes, it is. Once we cleanse all of egotisms, what we call egotism, or stains in us, then yes, we will have higher self-awareness. That's all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mika's question. Natsuko says, we will know it, children of fire and spirit. For the first time, you will know total love as the heavenly fire. You will also know other qualities of total love. Can you please talk about the baptism of fire? This is waiting for us when we finally get rid of pettiness and all egoism. Yeah, it's ready. It's waiting for us. Yes. Now you know, in physical fire, it dissolves, it burns you, it hurts you, it dissolves matter. Psychonoetical fire, this baptism of fire, the fire purifies you. And that's why he's calling it total love, because what purifies people more than anything is love. If you're really in love with someone, if you really love something, right, at that moment, are you egoistic? No, you're with the beloved. I mean, it's like a purification. Then after the baptism of Spirit, well, like we said, the baptism of Spirit is at the end, where you return home as the prodigal son. That's waiting for us too. And we have to go through all these. This first baptism, this first crucifixion and the baptism that is involved takes a long time. It's a long, long thing. But the baptism between the crucifixion between the second and third could be a moment. You're in the realm of the eternal now. So, there is no length in terms of that. So, there's so much ahead of us, so much ahead of us. I feel extremely grateful and loved by God with all difficulties I come across in life. I love to carry on my practice in the teaching so that I will be able to express my love to all brothers and sisters here on earth. Beautiful. Very beautiful.
You answered it already.
Yes,
you're not questioning, you answered.
That's it?
Anything for this
Well, I think we did answer all of it.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Hello, Mika-san. Yes, for the first comment, which you say, for the first time you will know total love as a heavenly fire, and you will also know other quality of total love. What you say, what does Carol say? Other quality of total love. I think it is the love is the motion, movement, and the kinesis. But before that, we will know about the total love through baptism fire. Yes. It is the initiation, as Daniel mentioned. The first initiation. First step of our initiation is baptism of water, cleansing our what we call stains. But after that, when we proceed and reach a certain level of our self-consciousness and consciousness, baptism of fire will start. It has pain, but we feel by that cleansing of fire, we will feel bliss. Bliss is ecstasy in silence. We receive this kind of feeling. Also, we feel pain. And cleanse all over our stains. It's blessings and also pain. But and it will be done by Logos, Christ. And we will be more purified by the fire. This fire is not the fire out from outside, it's our inner fire. Because originally we are, as Dascaros taught us, we are the children of light and fire, light and spirit and light and fire. We are originally so. So as a human being, as a present-day personality, when we ascend, naturally it will happen by our own inner fire, through Logos, through Christ, and ascend more and more and more. This is what we call initiation. After the baptism of fire, baptism of light, baptism of spirit will start. This is our natural process to go back to do this. So by this fire, we feel pain, but as you say, Mika-san, we should appreciate this fire because this fire cleanses us more and more for us to reach back to the surface. So it's just blessings. So we stand strong and remember what we are really, our real self, and receive all kind of fire and next night. Until this spirit self-realization, that's the way for all human beings.
One other thing about the baptism of fire. Maybe you can understand it through this metaphor. Our egoisms, our negative thoughts, negative feelings, unhealthy desires, that stuff is like trash, paper trash, just straw and paper. It's not valuable. And the higher up you go, you experience the light, and the light is fire. So in the baptism of fire, it's like it's burning up all that shaft in us so that we can go forward, we can rise higher. And it's said that once you go through this one, it's like you become spiritually adopted. I'll say spiritually adopted, like more officially, something bigger, greater, because you've made a commitment. You've gone through this baptism of fire, and now you're adopted. And now that's when they call the seekers children of fire and spirit, fire and mind, because they've gone through that, and that's been burnt out. The lower stuff's been burnt out.
And we have exercises. One exercise, we have many exercises of baptism fire, but one exercise is creating a big equilateral triangle, right triangles, right-sided triangle, and standing on that, and the fire, the golden fire, comes up from the bottom of the triangle, and we were surrounded by the golden flames, and in the middle, our white light body becomes like a how do you say, wick of the candle, yes. And furthermore, we dissolve our bodies. We have exercise like that, and also. And through this exercise, we will communicate with our guardian angel and our real self by seeing the face, or by seeing the flame of fire, like a golden flame. And we communicate, we breathe this flame and imbue ourselves, and attune with the fire, and communicate with our own real self and guardian angel. Or we have another exercise of the baptism fire in the four-sided pyramid, and we breathe in the Michael's red flame and imbue. We breathe in that, and we imbue our bodies and communicate with the Archangel Michael. Same thing, the Archangel Raphael, imbuing ourselves with a violet flame. We see the flame above our nose and above our head. We see them by the fire. So, in general, it's called the Pentecost of the disciple. They experienced the baptism of fire by watching the flame above their nose and forehead. Yes.
Thank you, Eric and Mika. Those are really good questions to bring out. It's very deep part of the teaching. But
We had fun to speak about it.
Yeah.
Let's study more.
Okay, here's
seminar.
Mario from Italy.
Hello, Mario.
Hey, Mario. Simulating healing mentally and physically. I need the researchers of truth input on what meditation techniques would be best for self-healing. Is visualizing the 3 suns meditation and an orange sun around the thyroid good enough? Maybe introspection, removing negativity from the energy body? Or maybe building a completely new, healthy energy body and changing energy bodies visually. Let me know what techniques to try. Well, the most important exercises given in this system are what you just mentioned, the 3 suns, and you can add the S for good health, the orange one is the thyroid, and introspection. In fact, that's the only one he insisted everybody do every night. Because why? Because that produces the greatest growth. Because you're becoming more self-aware. You're examining your behaviors, your thoughts, your feelings, and your intent is to get rid of the ones that are harming you and the people around you. So that one is the most effective thing. And the second one, what we said, if you want to do one, is the three suns meditation. We strongly recommend you do that every day too. And what's that doing? Well, we're not going to replace our energy body with a new one. What we're going to do is purify our energy body. Purify our emotions and thoughts is purifying our energy bodies. It's making us clean and bright. Okay, huh?
Yes. First of all, we are breathing all the time. I suggest you to do the etheric breathing, not only just breathing normally. Please try the breathing, our breathing method. Breathing deeply, consciously, rhythmically, and visualizing our light body full of etheric vitality. So that's the first step. And then, as he said, 3 suns is good, 3 suns meditation is good, and also introspection, because cleansing our psychoanalytical body affect our material body. The most of our material body's disease is from our psychoanalytical body. So cleansing our psychoanalytical body is one method, very important. So introspection is also very important. But more than what you call the technique, it's very important to self-suggest to your subconsciousness that you are complete and wholesome. You are healthy. And in your subconsciousness, you are not only weak present-day personality. You are, in that present-day personality, we are God. We are spirit, soul, self in our present-day personality self. So please imprint and make affirmation to your subconsciousness all the time. You are not only the weak, unhealthy present-day personality. No, you are perfect and immaculate spirit, soul, self. So, as Daniel mentioned a little bit before, so please know 2 in 1. You have something 2 in 1. And it all depends on how much you cleanse those the other one, present-day personality self stuff. How much you cleanse, then automatically the perfect, healthy one unfold. So I feel imprinting a healthy image in your subconsciousness is the best way for the self-healing. This is my answer.
Next one is from Patrick. What are the divine rays? I saw these meditations on the Stoicery website. If everything that exists is mind at different rates of vibration, what are the best ways to consciously move up and down to some specific frequency or vibration? Yes, the rays are different frequencies, different bands of vibrations of the mind, for sure. And what's the best way to move it? And he goes on to say, is it just to hold the frequency in our mind and actually move there, get connected with that frequency? Yes, but it's not just your mind, it's your whole being. You know, it's particularly the etheric double. You try to feel it everywhere. And you raise your vibrations by attuning upward, or lower your vibrations by attuning downward. And does the overall frequency of our elementals limit us in the capacity to travel within these frequencies? Absolutely. That's why we're trying to purify. We're trying to get rid of egoistic tendencies so that we can rise higher and higher and higher. Because these things are lead balloons. It's just like a hot air balloon. You have to throw the sandbags out to go up higher. It's the same kind of principle. And so in this case, you just are letting go of those earthly, bounding, egoistic vibrations, and you can rise higher. It would be fantastic to always be in the frequency of Christ Logos, but this too is too high for most of it. Absolutely, just like we said about the baptism of fire. To be in the vibrations of Christ Logos can burn you if you got full of a bunch of trash. So it's too high to go directly there. Even Daskalos, he's done it a few times on Earth. One time he did it in the inner circle, and there were candles there, and the light got so strong that the candles started to melt, and the students were afraid to get close to him. They felt like they would be shocked or burnt themselves. And so, yes, you've answered the question correctly. And how to be able to get to the point of being able to be most of the time in Christ's frequencies. Well, it's what we've been saying. We have to purify our egoistic tendencies and our unnecessary and lower desires. We have to raise the vibration. And the only way to do that is to drop the sandbags of egoism and unhealthy desires. Are the frequencies heard as sound? Absolutely. Vibrational frequency creates sound and color at the same time. I remember that it was said that the names of the archangels are actually the sounds we hear coming from their frequency. How can one learn to hear all these sounds of frequencies? Are these sounds just the same thing? Are the sounds just the same thing than the colors of the frequencies? Yeah, they're the same things. They're just one is auditory and one is visual, for sure. And and the archangels in the beginning, you start to hear their voices. It's like a ringing, most people. It's like a ringing. But if you go deep into the meditation, you'll start to notice it's not just a ringing, it's a singing. And there's subtle tonalities in there. So you have to really, really concentrate and really go into it deeply. And then you can hear the voice of the archangels in terms of the frequencies. Some people call it the symphony of the spheres too. Which is just the worlds. But sometimes they'll make a direct statement to you. Very short usually, very succinct, and just, it's something will occur to you that's just like, you hadn't thought of it, but they're like saying, what about this kind of thing?
Yes. Hello, Patrick. Let's just say, ninth divine ray is the Christ light, Christ unconditional love. It's very high, very high. It's unconditional love to heal everything. And the next question of you is how we can adjust the vibration. My suggestion is, first of all, control your thought and emotions. Possibly stop all kind of mundane daily thoughts and emotions. And they find your I-ness, your divine self in you, create this mode. Then when you go deeper or deepest, you will be able to feel like complete calmness, absolute stillness. Then you won't be influenced by any kind of power, influence from outside or inside from yourself. You will reach the state like complete calmness. But when you try to focus on something by using your willpower, you can focus on whatever you like. And then once you focus on something, then whatever you pick, the scenery or people or whatever you want to focus on, it's developed to you. You will experience it. This kind of condition will happen on you. So back to your question, when you want to adjust the vibration to focus on something, create this kind of complete calmness as best as you can. And try to start to focus on something using your willpower, possibly divine willpower, your divine willpower. Then you will be able to go wherever you are, to experience whatever you want. And if you want to attune with the ninth divine ray, you just concentrate on ninth divine ray by visualizing or by feeling. Then it will happen to you because everything is in here. So we don't need to go anywhere. It will come because everything is here. It all depends on, as I said before, we are like a transmitter. We can change our vibration from highest to the lowest to the highest. And everything is here. So by changing your vibration, you can experience whatever. But if without cleansing our own heavy vibration of our present-day personality, we can't start that. So create this condition and try to change your vibration. And we have a great teaching in this teaching system, the attunement. Attunement is very high, but attunement is also high because it's the nature of our soul. Attunement is the nature of our spirit, so those are very high, but we can practice to attune with something. Attune with something is just co-vibrate. When we have something which we want to experience, we just try to co-vibrate with it and experience it. And then attunement is to be one with it. So let's start to practice attunement, and in future, attunement with something which we would like to know and experience. And then, give me a second. Yes, and so to attune with something higher, we can try to do we can try with attunement or attunement. But whenever we want to lower the vibration, we can use the same method. But also, maybe many people already experience during the out-of-body experience, whatever we are experiencing. But in the middle of the experience, when we feel our own emotion and thoughts, especially the kind of fear, for example, then immediately we go back to our body, right? Because they are vibrating, the fear or all kind of mundane emotions vibrating very low. That's why it will bring back to our body. So we can observe what kind of emotion and thoughts are vibrating, lower or higher. Please observe and just try to focus on that. Then we can automatically be able to adjust the vibration and control this kind of condition. And one more. Yes, about frequencies. When you start to hear the sound or see the colors, as I said now, just like open your heart and imagine you have someone who you really love and care and respect. Then you can automatically open your heart, right? And surrender yourself and try to become one with it. You know, when we have someone we really love, care, and respect, we naturally open our heart and try to get closer and closer and possibly be one with that person, right? Apply this method when you want to attune with something, archangels. Enjoy the experience, love them, care them, and respect them, and appreciate them. Then the attunement and the attunement naturally will happen. We can practice the attunement attunement. And yes, I'm sorry. The final answer is yes. All the vibration can be converted into colors and sound and even numbers. So everything is mind in many levels, which means many vibrations.
The other aspect about that is when you want to attune to the archangels, the higher, you have to raise your vibration. But if you're trying to attune to the nature kingdom, a plant or an animal, you have to lower your vibrations, not in terms of negativity, but in terms of speed. You know, you want to slow down your vibrations to attune to the nature kingdom.
With a pure heart. And yes, and I have one more advice. When we want to communicate with archangels, right? Rather than having a big desire or wish for us to experience communication with archangels, rather than holding this kind of big passion or desire, if we work for someone, the benefit for the someone, and pray for archangels, then experience might happen easier, because archangels are working and serving and devoting themselves for other benefit, for the benefit of others, right? So that's going to resonate their pure love, unconditional pure love for someone. If we hold so much, we need the wish. We need to have strong willpower to wish something, but together with that, let's pray for someone. Let's think of someone's benefit. Then the vibration will be very refined and coordinate with their vibration. This is my advice. Okay.
Oh, we're almost out of time, but let's try to do Aburad's OA question. question is, what happens to an archangel who's in charge of a certain kind of plant or animal if those go extinct? What happens to a lot, which happens a lot in our time? What is his path after this? Will he go through the human archetype and therefore give some actual meaning to the Eastern belief that animals can return as humans? Let me just take a couple of these at a time. The way it works is you have the highest order of archangel hold the archetype of the plant or animal. And the highest order would be the Metathrones. And they hold that. And then the other archangels of the elements, fire, earth, water, spirit, they work on that archetype and bring it down to the noetical level where it takes form. Now, the archetypal form is a form, but it's not the kind of way we think of forms. So it's more of it's not a shape, but it's a form, it's a vibrational thing. It's coded with laws, causes, and principles. So they dress it and they bring it down to the noetic, down to the psychical, down to the material plane. And then there are principal angels who are in charge of each of the level of process. Down until you finally get to the nature spirit, who is in charge of that individual animal. But there's also an angel in charge of the whole species of animal. So when that one single animal dies, that nature spirit goes back to the angels who's in charge of the species. What happens when the whole species dies? That angel goes back to the principal or governing angel over it. So now, when we think they're dead, oh, that species is gone, we don't see the dinosaur here anymore. When you go to the psychical plane, you'll still see them. They still exist there as forms. So even though they're extinct here, they're not there. There's so much more in the psychical planes than there is on Earth. In fact, 97% of all the species on Earth have gone extinct. So, but they're not gone. They're just like a human being dying. You don't see them on Earth anymore, but they still keep existing. So they go back, but they don't go through the human archetype. No animal has ever been, no angel or spirit angel behind an animal has ever turned into a human being. It's not necessary. It doesn't work that way. And the reason they say that in India, just to know, is the masters used to be able to go into the animal. They still can, some of them. But they used to be able to go into the animal and experience the animal's life. They could make the animal move, they could be in that animal, or they could control the animal from outside of itself. So this is what's transmuted into the idea that a human can be born as an animal or an animal be born as a human. There is no transmigration between humans and animals. Also, there are some groups of organisms in our world, like the Natuli, who are here without any change to this day, over just an unthinkable length of time. I could see how their archangelic managers would want to get changed out after having learned what they can learn in such a particular context, as the animal, I think is what he's saying, or plant. And finally, what about fungi? They make a pretty different impression on me, more like being controlled by different kinds of consciousness. Well, the oldest thing on Earth is bacteria. So the nature spirit in that bacteria, it's existed, I can't remember how many years, but it's just an enormous amount of time. It's the oldest living thing on Earth. But here's a mistake. And here's a great thing too. It's a mistake to think that, but it's a great thing. It shows that no angel, no archangel, no nature spirit improves. They don't learn anything. They can adapt to conditions, and they can make that animal or plant change their ways a little bit, but they don't learn anything. And this is something really important in the teachings, to understand that everything here, planets, plants, animals, everything here, nothing improves by being here. Which means what? It means it's all here for us. It's all here for us to experience and understand just the miracle of life, if you will. they don't improve. No archangel, oh, I'm better now that I was a guardian angel for this guy. You know, it's not like that. They are what they are. They're eternal. They're connected to God. They don't need to change. Their work is eternally the same. No tree has evolved. I mean, no tree has ever evolved into an animal, despite what the Eastern peoples perceive or imagine. So that means that, you know, an oak tree is an oak tree. You know, you can make different variations of it and everything, but it's not learning anything. You take the seed and plant will do, under the same conditions, will do the same thing every time. So it's only human beings are improving in that kind of way, learning, improving, unfolding. And what are we unfolding to? Our real self.
Yep. The extinct. So, I'll say that the extinct. Extinct, yes. The extinct animal or extinct plants are still in the etheric counterpart of the material world and above. So even though it's extinct from the material world, they are existing the world above. So, and as Daniel said, the animal and plant never becomes the human being. Vice versa, human being doesn't go back to the animal because of the bad deed or whatever. Never ever human being never ever becomes animal or plant. Human beings are human beings. Human beings pass by the idea of archangelic man and the idea of a heavenly man. We call idea of man, then becomes human being. The plants and the animals are their own archetypes and forms. Passing through that, they become animals or plants. So this is the universal rule. Nobody can change it. And then, yeah, about the shell. No tilly. For example,
Nautilus, I think.
Nautilus,
Yeah.
it's a shell. From the viewpoint of human being, we feel like, oh, this animal or this organism doesn't develop at all. But as Daniel said, it changes. Depends on the condition. It changes the forms or the way of living. But all other animals and the plants are serving for human kingdom. So, and the archangels are perfect. They never left from God, which means they are total wisdom and they are total power and they are total love. So they don't have kind of things to learn or develop as the archangels because they are God. So from the viewpoint of human being, the present day personality, we sometimes think of some animal or the organism has no development, but it is working perfectly. More than what our present day personality perceive. It's working perfectly under the divine law. And your final question, fungus. You know, each organism has as Daniel explained, from the top to down, from the archangel and the angels, and at the bottom we have nature spirit. And when we see, when we will be able to see those kind of nature spirit, you know, you mentioned about the fungi, the fungus, for example, mushroom. Okay, when we can see the nature spirit of them, it doesn't, not always. It has, if it's a mushroom, the nature spirit, appearance of the nature spirit of mushroom doesn't look like a mushroom, but the energy or vibration represents the kind of the same vibration, the same energy of a mushroom, but it doesn't exactly shaped like a mushroom. Same thing like cactus, nature spirit of cactus doesn't, represent like exactly cactus shape. It's not like that, but the energy or atmosphere looks like the same vibration of the cactus. We will be able to see the nature spirit like that. So maybe your impression about fungi, you might, in your mind, you might have seen, the appearance of energy like that, but I don't know what you're seeing about fungi, but the nature spirit appears like this, if we can see them. That's all.
Okay. As we're going into this new year here, it's pretty obvious that the last few years and even beyond, there's been this fear-induced reality given to us, especially if you just go back to when the COVID came, pandemic, okay? Oh, be afraid, be very afraid. And it keeps going on. It keeps accelerating. Wildfires are burning up everything. Toxic chemtrails, all this stuff. There's a lot of fear that has been induced into our reality, into our lives. And terrorists, we've been having these fear-induced experiences for so long. But I really feel that 2024, it's time for that to start reversing and coming down. So going into this new year, we have a lot of high hopes for a better year this year. We should always. And in fact, going forward into the new year, we need three things. One is really trust in God. We really have to trust that nothing is happening outside. He's really in control, although it doesn't seem like it because of the certain actors in the world right now. But that's number one. The second one is we have to feel confident in ourselves. Confidence to go through whatever we have to face according to the law of cause and effect for humanity. Not just our own, but for all of humanity. And the third one, and this is very important too, they're all very important, is optimism. We have to feel, we have to do this, we have to go forward feeling that better days are coming. And they will come, for sure. But how much we have to go through before those better days come, don't know. But definitely we've been promised a new heaven and new earth. Now, I'll leave you to think about what that might mean. But we want to wish you both very happy new year.
Yes, please remember, everything is here. And even the kingdom of heaven is here now. It's everywhere. It depends on all how we think, how we feel, how we perceive the world. Happy New Year.
Many blessings.
Many blessings.
And much love, right? Much love.
From all.
See you next time.